Before we begin, take a deep breath and let the noise of the world fade into the background. This moment is yours. A quiet doorway into understanding, stillness into clarity. The title of this book may sound bold, for how to solve any problem, but it is not a promise of magic or perfection. It is an invitation to see life differently, to use your mind not as a battlefield, but as a garden. Problem that has ever existed begins and ends in the mind. The mind gives meaning, creates stories, labels experiences, reacts to its own creations. When we say problem, we are rarely talking about the event itself. We are talking about our relationship with it. Peaceful mind formula is a way of changing that relationship. It is not about escaping reality or pretending difficulties don't exist. It is about learning to stay centered while reality unfolds. To solve any problem, you must first become peaceful, not passive, but peaceful, because peace clears the fog of fear and confusion. When the mind is calm, what was once impossible begins to feel solvable. This first chapter is the cocka, the blueprint of the entire book, the foundation on which every idea rests. Think of it as the quiet map that shows where we are going and why it matters. Imagine your life as a long road filled with unexpected turns. Some days are smooth and bright, others are stormy and uncertain. On this road, problems are like weather. They come, they go, they change shape. You cannot stop the rain from falling, but you can learn to carry an umbrella, to drive carefully, to wait calmly until the sun returns. That is what this book teaches. It teaches you to find stability inside yourself so that no external storm can drown you. Peaceful mind formula is not about controlling circumstances, it is about mastering your response. Begins with awareness, the ability to notice your own thoughts and emotions without becoming trapped by them. Most people live entirely inside their thinking. They don't see the thought. They are the thought. The first step is learning to step back, become the observer of the mind rather than its prisoner. Once awareness begins, acceptance follows naturally. Acceptance does not mean resignation, means seeing reality as it is before you try to change it. You cannot heal what you refuse to touch. From acceptance comes detachment, not emotional coldness, but emotional freedom. You begin to care deeply without being consumed. You act with wisdom rather than desperation. After detachment comes clarity, the heart of the process. Clarity means looking at a problem and seeing what is truly there, not what fear tells you is there. It means asking, what is really happening? Instead of, why is this happening to me? In clarity, confusion melts away because truth becomes visible. Clarity, focus is born. Focus is the discipline of attention. The art of staying with one thought, one task, one feeling long enough to understand it. When your energy is scattered, your power is weak. When your attention is steady, your solutions appear naturally. Action follows focus, and action transforms insight into reality. The peaceful mind formula teaches that action should flow from calm, not chaos. When you act from fear, you create more fear. When you act from peace, you create order. But the formula does not stop there, requires patience, the willingness to trust time. Some problems are solved not by pushing harder, but by waiting wisely. Patience allows understanding to ripen. Perspective comes next. The ability to step back and see the bigger picture. What feels unbearable today may appear as a lesson tomorrow. Perspective transforms pain into wisdom, mistakes into experience, and endings into beginnings. 2. Play a vital role. They are signals, not enemies. Anger may show where a boundary has been crossed. Sadness may show where something meaningful has been lost. The peaceful mind formula invites you to listen to emotions without letting them control your decisions. Beyond emotion lies gratitude, the art of recognizing what remains good even when things go wrong. Gratitude brings balance, reminding you that life is never entirely dark. Forgiveness follows, not as a moral rule, but as a mental release. Hold on to resentment is to drink poison and expect another to suffer. Forgiveness clears your inner space so solutions can enter. Forgiveness comes resilience, the strength to rise again, softer but wiser, every time you fall. Harmony then becomes possible. The moment when thought, feeling, and action move together in one peaceful rhythm, and at the peak of all this learning stands peace. Not the absence of problems, but the ability to face them with stillness, compassion, and confidence. So this first chapter is not just an introduction, it is the seed of the entire journey. It tells you what this book truly offers, a way of thinking, a way of being that makes you bigger than your circumstances. Imagine the peace of knowing that no matter what life brings, conflict, uncertainty, loss, or fear, there is always a calm place within you that cannot be broken. That is the destination. Every tool in this book is a step toward that center. You will learn to see your thoughts like clouds in the sky, appearing, drifting, dissolving, while your awareness remains like the open sky itself, steady and untouched. That is where true problem-solving begins. Because when the mind is peaceful, solutions rise naturally, like ripples on still water. This book is not a set of instructions, it is a mirror, showing you that the wisdom you seek has always been inside you. The peaceful mind formula simply helps you remember it. Take one last deep breath as we close this opening chapter. Let it remind you that you are not your problems, not your past, not your fears. You are the awareness beneath them, and from that awareness, you can handle anything. This is where our journey begins. Everything begins with awareness. Before you can solve any problem, you must first learn to see, not with your eyes, but with your understanding. Most people live their entire lives reacting, rushing, and responding to situations without ever stopping to notice what's really happening inside them. They confuse the noise of their thoughts with truth, the rush of emotion with clarity, and the chatter of fear with logic. Awareness is the gentle art of stepping back and watching your mind as if you were watching the sky. Thoughts come and go like clouds. Some light, heavy, some stormy. But the sky itself remains untouched. You are that sky. Awareness is remembering this simple truth. You are not your thoughts, you are the space in which they appear. The moment you realize this, even for a second, a small gap opens between you and your thinking. That gap is freedom. That gap, you find peace, choice, and clarity. Awareness is not about control. It's about observation. You don't need to stop your thoughts, you only need to see them clearly. The act of seeing is itself transformative. When you shine the light of awareness on fear, it begins to lose its power. When you become aware of anger, you stop being ruled by it. When you notice confusion, clarity starts to emerge on its own. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. The darkness doesn't need to be fought. It simply disappears in the presence of light. To develop awareness, you must practice stillness. Not necessarily physical stillness, but mental stillness. Sit quietly for a few moments each day and notice what's happening inside you. What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? Don't analyze it, observe it. This simple act can change everything. You might notice that your mind is constantly moving, judging, comparing, remembering, planning. It jumps from one worry to another, one opinion to the next. you might realize that most of your mental activity is automatic, repetitive, and unconscious. Awareness brings this machinery into view. It shows you the patterns that keep you trapped in stress and fear. Once you see them, no longer have to obey them. Awareness is the beginning of freedom from emotional slavery. It doesn't make your problems disappear, but it gives you space to choose your response. When something upsetting happens, an unaware mind reacts instantly. Anger, fear, frustration, blame. But an aware mind pauses, breathes, and looks. It notices the emotion rising but doesn't let it take control. That pause, that single breath of awareness, can prevent 100 mistakes. It can save relationships, calm conflicts, transform chaos into understanding. Awareness doesn't require special tools or teachers. It's already within you, waiting to be remembered. When you begin to live with awareness, you'll notice how much of life you were missing. You'll see how often you were on autopilot. Driving without noticing the road. Speaking without listening to your own words, worrying about things that never happened. Awareness wakes you up. It reconnects you with the present moment, the only place where life truly exists. Past is memory, the future is imagination, but the present is reality. Most problems grow because we abandon the present. We dwell on what happened yesterday or fear what might happen tomorrow, forgetting that the only place we can act, think, and live is now. Awareness anchors you here, in this moment, where solutions actually exist. The peaceful mind formula begins here, because without awareness, other step is blind. Acceptance without awareness becomes resignation. Detachment without awareness becomes avoidance. Even clarity cannot arise if you are lost in unconscious thought. Awareness is the foundation on which every other strength is built. But awareness is not always comfortable. When you first begin to observe your mind, you might not like what you see. You may notice patterns of negativity, jealousy, or fear that you've ignored for years. Don't turn away. This is the mind revealing itself so it can be healed. The purpose of awareness is not to judge, but to understand. You cannot clean a room if you refuse to see the dust. Awareness is the light that helps you see. Once you accept what's there, transformation becomes possible. Every emotion, no matter how painful, becomes an opportunity to learn something about yourself. You might discover that anger hides hurt, that fear hides love, that confusion hides the need for stillness. In this way, awareness turns even suffering into wisdom. Think of awareness as the gentle guardian of your peace. It watches your thoughts without becoming them, your emotions without being swept away by them, your surroundings without losing itself in them. With awareness, you begin to notice how problems start, not in the outside world, but in your own reactions to it. For example, if someone criticizes you, the pain you feel does not come from their words, but from your interpretation of those words. The moment you become aware of this, you regain your power. You realize that while you cannot control what others do, you can control how you respond. Awareness makes you the author of your own mind. It allows you to choose peace over conflict, understanding over judgment, and patience over reaction. As you strengthen awareness, you'll find it working quietly in daily life. You'll catch yourself before you say something hurtful. You'll pause before making a rash decision. You'll notice the moment anxiety begins to rise and breathe instead of panic. Slowly, life begins to feel lighter, not because the challenges disappear, because your mind is no longer at war with them. You start to notice small beauties again. The sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight, rhythm of your breath. Awareness opens your senses to life itself. It replaces restlessness with presence, fear with observation, confusion with understanding. This is where all true problem solving begins, not in frantic action, but in calm awareness. Remember, awareness is a practice, not a destination. You don't reach a point where you're fully aware forever. A lifelong returning, moment after moment, breath after breath. Some days your awareness will be strong, and other days it will fade under stress. That's okay. Each time you remember to come back, to notice, to breathe, you strengthen the peaceful core within you. That is progress. That is transformation. So as we close this chapter, take a slow breath and notice it entering and leaving your body. For just this moment, here, not in your thoughts, not in your plans, but in your awareness. Because this quiet, clear space is the beginning of peace. Peace is where every true solution begins. Acceptance is the second step in the peaceful mind formula, and though it may sound simple, it is one of the most profound acts of inner strength a human being can practice. Acceptance does not mean surrendering to defeat or giving up on change, means recognizing reality as it is before trying to transform it. Without acceptance, all effort becomes resistance, and resistance drains the mind of peace. The moment you resist what already exists, you create conflict between your thoughts and the truth of the moment. That conflict is what we call suffering. The truth is, pain is a part of life, but suffering is born when the mind refuses to accept that pain. Acceptance allows the heart to open even in discomfort. It says, yes, this is what's happening right now. I will face it as it is. When you begin to live this way, peace starts to arise naturally. Acceptance is not passive. It's the calm clarity that gives you the power to act wisely, like standing still long enough to see which way the river flows before you decide where to step. In most situations, we waste energy fighting the present, wishing it were different, regretting the past, fearing the future, but acceptance redirects that energy into awareness. It frees you from the need to control what cannot be controlled, and it gives you back control over what can be changed. Your perception, your response, and your choices. To practice acceptance, you must first understand that life is not designed to meet your expectations. It unfolds according to its own rhythm, sometimes in harmony with your desires, sometimes against them. When you argue with reality, reality always wins. If you resist the rain, you only get wet with frustration. If you accept it, you can dance in it, find shelter, or wait peacefully until it passes. Acceptance does not change the weather, it changes how you experience it. Every problem, no matter how big, carries two layers, the outer situation and your inner resistance to it. The situation might be difficult, but your resistance multiplies the pain. When you remove resistance through acceptance, what remains is just the raw experience. Often much easier to bear than your mind's reaction to it. Acceptance gives you emotional honesty. It allows you to look at life and say, yes, this is happening, without immediately adding judgment, fear, or blame. That honesty becomes the seed of transformation, because only when you see the truth clearly can you decide what to do next. You cannot heal what you won't acknowledge, and you cannot solve what you refuse to see. Think of acceptance as the soil in which all solutions grow. Awareness, which we explored in the previous chapter, shows you what is. Acceptance lets you hold what you see without flinching. Together, create stability. Imagine standing in a river of strong current. If you fight the water, you tire quickly and may be swept away. If you accept its flow and move with it, you find balance. You learn to swim instead of struggle. This is the essence of acceptance. flowing with life rather than against it. The human mind often confuses control with power. It believes that if it can just change external circumstances, peace will follow. But real power comes from inner alignment, saying yes to this moment even as you work to improve the next one. Acceptance is the quiet courage to stop running from what hurts and to look it in the eye. When you stop running, you stop feeding fear. Once felt unbearable becomes something you can carry with grace. Acceptance is not resignation, because resignation says, there is nothing I can do, while acceptance says, this is what is true right now, and I can act from here. That small shift changes everything. Acceptance allows creativity to return. When you stop wishing the world were different, your mind becomes free to imagine how to respond. It's the difference between being stuck in the mud and realizing you can build a bridge. Acceptance doesn't paralyze you, it empowers you. It gives you back the energy that constant resistance has been stealing from you. In relationships, acceptance softens judgment. It helps you see that people act from their own level of awareness, shaped by their experiences and pain. When you accept others as they are, not as you wish them to be, you stop taking their behavior personally. This doesn't mean tolerating harm. It means understanding that peace is not found in control but in clarity. From that clarity, you can set boundaries with calm instead of anger, speak truth without hostility, and walk away from what doesn't serve your growth. Not with bitterness, but with peace. Acceptance also applies to yourself. Self-acceptance is perhaps the hardest form, because it requires you to face your flaws, mistakes, and limitations without judgment. Many people think self-acceptance means settling for mediocrity, but it is the opposite. Self-acceptance is the ground on which real improvement stands. When you accept yourself, you stop wasting energy on self-hate and begin using that energy to grow. You can't heal a wound by pretending it isn't there. Heal it by acknowledging it and caring for it. Self-acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for better, it means you strive with kindness instead of cruelty. You begin to say, I am doing my best with what I have right now. And that compassion opens the door to transformation. A peaceful mind is never built on self-rejection. Acceptance also brings patience, and patience is peace in motion. Life often takes longer than we expect. The things we want may not come when we want them. Acceptance teaches you to trust the timing of your path. You begin to understand that even delays and disappointments can serve a purpose. To teach, prepare, to redirect. Every season of life has its rhythm: growth, rest, change, and renewal. Acceptance is living in rhythm with that truth, realizing that even when you don't understand the why, life still holds meaning. You learn to relax into the mystery instead of fighting it. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Ultimately, acceptance brings peace not because it erases difficulty, because it dissolves the illusion that you must fight reality to be okay. You start to see that peace was never something you had to earn, always present, hidden beneath resistance. When you say yes to this moment, no matter how imperfect, align yourself with life instead of against it. That alignment is serenity. Acceptance is the still point in the middle of the storm, the place where chaos loses its power to shake you. You begin to live with a quiet strength that no circumstance can take away. You stop needing life to be easy because you've learned to be steady. That steadiness, real solutions arise. Not forced, not desperate, but natural, flowing from a calm mind and an open heart. So take a deep breath and let this truth sink in. Acceptance is not the end of effort, it is the beginning of wisdom. problem you will ever face can be met in one of two ways: with resistance or with acceptance. Resistance blinds you, acceptance opens your eyes. Resistance keeps you stuck in anger, acceptance frees you to act with clarity. Resistance says, "Why me?" But acceptance asks, "What can I learn?" The moment you choose acceptance, your mind begins to heal, your energy returns, and your peace becomes possible again. Life becomes lighter not because it changed, but because you did. This is the power of acceptance. Not to erase pain, but to transform your relationship with it. It is the gateway through which all peace flows, and the foundation on which the rest of this journey stands. Detachment is the next essential pillar of the peaceful mind formula, and it may be the most misunderstood. Many people hear the word detachment and imagine indifference, emotional coldness, or a lack of care. True detachment is not about closing your heart, it is about freeing it. It means loving, working, and living with full sincerity, but without tying your peace to the results. Detachment is not disconnection, it is balance. Is the ability to engage deeply with life while remaining steady inside, no matter how life moves. In truth, detachment is a form of inner security. It is the understanding that nothing outside you, not success, not approval, not possession, not relationship, can define who you are or decide how you feel. When you are attached, your happiness depends on conditions. When those conditions shift, as they inevitably do, your peace collapses. But when you learn the art of detachment, your peace becomes unconditional. You are free to enjoy, to love, create, and to care without fear of loss. Detachment transforms your relationship with life from one of control to one of trust. Doesn't mean you stop caring about outcomes. It means you care wisely, with awareness of what you can and cannot control. You still act, but you no longer cling. You still dream, but you are not destroyed if things unfold differently. You still give your best, but you understand that your best is all you ever had power over. Detachment begins when you realize how much of your suffering comes from attachment. Not from life itself, but from the way your mind holds on to people and ideas. We attach to expectations, and when reality doesn't match them, we feel pain. We attach to identities, our job, our role, our image, and when those change, we feel lost. We attach to relationships, thinking others must behave as we wish for us to be okay, and when they don't, we feel betrayed. But underneath every attachment lies fear, the fear of losing control, the fear of losing security, the fear of losing love. Detachment is the courage to face that fear and release it. It teaches you that nothing real can be lost. The love you give, the wisdom you gain, the peace you cultivate, these live inside you and cannot be taken by anyone or anything. The deeper your detachment, freer you become from emotional turbulence. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. In fact, your feelings become more honest, pure, and grounded because they are no longer tangled with fear and dependency. You can love someone without trying to possess them. You can appreciate beauty without needing to own it. You can pursue goals without being crushed by outcomes. That is true freedom. Practicing detachment requires awareness and patience. It starts by noticing where you hold on too tightly. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to lose? And what would happen if I stopped controlling this? Often, the mind clings because it believes that without attachment, there will be emptiness. But in reality, when you let go, you discover space. A vast space of peace and openness that attachment had been hiding. Holding sand in your hand, if you grip it too tightly, it slips away, but if you hold it gently, it stays. Life works the same way. When you cling, You create tension. When you relax, things flow. Detachment is a practice of loosening your grip on life while remaining fully present in it. Allows you to respond to change with flexibility rather than fear. It teaches you to flow like water, soft yet powerful, adapting to every container yet never losing its essence. Detachment also brings immense clarity. When you are attached, vision becomes clouded by desire and fear. You see what you want to see, not what truly is. Detachment removes those filters. It allows you to look at situations objectively, to make decisions not out of desperation or insecurity, but out of wisdom. A detached mind can see both sides of a situation clearly. It can love without illusion, act without pride, and rest without guilt. From this place, challenges become easier to navigate because you are no longer emotionally entangled in them. For example, if you are attached to being right, every disagreement feels like a threat. But when you detach from the need to win, you can listen calmly, learn, and grow. Detachment shifts your focus from being right to being at peace. Similarly, if you are attached to a specific outcome, every setback feels like failure. But when you are detached, you see each outcome as guidance, redirection rather than rejection. You understand that sometimes life says no, only to protect you or push you towards something better. One of the greatest gifts of detachment is emotional stability. When your sense of self no longer depends on external validation, you become unshakable. Praise does not inflate you, criticism does not crush you. You begin to operate from your center rather than from reactions. This inner stability allows you to move through life's changes with grace. Whether things go your way or not, your peace remains intact. That constancy is the mark of true strength. Detachment also deepens your compassion. When you are no longer blinded by personal desires, you can understand others more clearly. You stop expecting them to fulfill your emotional needs and start seeing them as whole beings with their own paths. This understanding nurtures genuine love, love that gives without bargaining, love that liberates rather than confines. In the realm of work and goals, detachment becomes the key to sustained success and mental health. It reminds you that while you can control effort, you cannot control outcome. This understanding relieves immense pressure. You give your best and trust that the rest will unfold as it should. Detachment helps you stay focused and creative, because your energy is not wasted on anxiety or perfectionism. You work from inspiration, not from fear. Ironically, when you stop obsessing over results, better results often come, because your actions flow from calm intention rather than tension. Detachment turns discipline into devotion, steady, joyful, and free from obsession. The spiritual heart of detachment lies in trust. Trust in life's intelligence, trust in timing, trust in your own ability to adapt. Life is constantly changing, and the more you resist that change, the more pain you feel. Detachment allows you to flow with change instead of fearing it. It reminds you that everything has its season. People arrive and leave, moments rise and fade, forms are born and dissolve. Cling is to fight the nature of existence itself. When you let go, you stop drowning in impermanence and begin to float with it. You find peace, not by holding everything still, but by realizing that your true self, the awareness beneath all change, is already still. Practicing detachment does not happen overnight. It grows each time you choose peace over control, each time you let a moment unfold without forcing it, time you love without fear. Start small, pause before reacting, breathe before clinging, observe before judging. Slowly, detachment becomes your natural state, not an effort, but a way of being. You learn that letting go is not losing, It is gaining the freedom to truly live. Detachment gives you space to experience life fully because you are no longer strangling it with expectations. In this freedom, peace blossoms. As we end this chapter, remember, detachment is not the absence of passion, it is the presence of peace. It is the ability to walk through life open-handed, to hold what comes, to release what goes, to trust that what belongs to you will always return in its right form. When you live detached, you are not empty, you are whole. You have discovered that your happiness no longer depends on what you have, but on who you are. Calm, aware, and free. This is the heart of detachment, the quiet strength that allows you to move through a changing world without losing your center. It is not coldness, it is clarity. It is not withdrawal, wisdom, and from that wisdom, peace flows endlessly, untouched by gain or loss, success or failure, praise or blame, the unshakable peace of a truly free mind. Clarity is the light that reveals the truth hidden beneath confusion, fear, and emotion. It is the fifth step in the peaceful mind formula, the bridge between understanding and action. Without clarity, every decision becomes guesswork, every effort feels like wandering in fog, and every challenge appears larger than it truly is. Clarity is not something you find outside yourself, it is something you uncover within, by quieting the noise of unnecessary thought. It is the natural state of the mind when it is not clouded by fear, desire, attachment. Most people try to solve problems from a place of confusion. They rush to fix, to decide, to act. But without clarity, all movement becomes misdirection. Clarity asks you to pause, to breathe, to see things as they are instead of how you wish them to be. It is about asking the right questions instead of rushing toward the wrong answers. When your mind becomes still, clarity rises on its own, just as the surface of a lake becomes clear once the ripples settle. You do not need to create clarity, you only need to stop disturbing it. Clarity begins with honesty, the willingness to look at reality without distortion. Most confusion is self-created because we avoid truth. We tell ourselves comforting stories, justify harmful choices, or cling to beliefs that no longer serve us. The mind does this to protect the ego. That protection becomes a prison. Clarity requires courage. The courage to see yourself and your situation without filters. It asks you to ask difficult questions. What is really happening here? What am I pretending not to know? What do I truly want? Am I afraid to admit? These questions open the door to understanding. Clarity is not about judging yourself. It's about seeing clearly where you stand so you can move forward intelligently. When you face truth without fear, confusion begins to dissolve. The mind stops spinning stories and starts revealing patterns. You begin to see the difference between facts and feelings, between what you can control and what you cannot. This separation is the birth of peace. Clarity also comes from stillness. A restless mind cannot see clearly. Imagine looking into a muddy river right after the water has been stirred. You cannot see the bottom until it settles. The same is true for thought. When you are anxious, angry, or overwhelmed, clarity hides beneath the turbulence of emotion. You might think you need to think harder, but the opposite is true. You need to think less. You need to breathe, step back, and let your inner waters calm. Clarity arises not from overthinking, but from observing without judgment. Sometimes, best way to gain clarity about a problem is to stop trying to solve it for a moment and instead see it. To watch it. To understand its shape. Listen to what it is teaching you. Often, the problem itself contains the seed of the solution, but you can only find it when you stop panicking. A peaceful mind perceives things as they are, while an unpeaceful mind sees only fragments. Fears, assumptions, and projections. Clarity restores wholeness to perception. It allows you to recognize that a problem may not be what it first appears to be. For example, you may think you have a financial problem, but upon reflection, you discover it is a fear problem, a fear of lack or failure. You may think you have a relationship problem, but what you truly face is a communication problem or an expectation problem. Clarity strips away layers until you see the root. Once you identify the real problem, solutions become obvious, often simple. Without clarity, you attack symptoms instead of causes. You try to fix what's visible rather than what's true. That is why clarity is the foundation of all effective problem solving. It saves you from wasting energy in the wrong direction. To gain clarity, must also learn to separate noise from truth. The world today floods your mind with opinions, comparisons, and distractions. Everyone has advice, few have understanding. Clarity requires silence, time away from screens, noise, and endless input. It asks you to return to your own inner voice, the quiet knowing that has always been there. You already possess wisdom, you just need space to hear it. Spend time in reflection, write, meditate, walk alone, sit with your thoughts, and clarity will begin to emerge. In silence, the mind organizes itself. Thoughts line up in order. Emotions reveal their roots, and confusion begins to untangle. Silence is not emptiness, it is fertile ground for insight. Another key to clarity is detachment, which we explored in the previous chapter. You cannot see clearly when you are emotionally attached to an outcome. Attachment bends perception because it makes you see what you want to see instead of what is. Detachment, on the other hand, allows neutrality, helps you stand back and view situations objectively. From that distance, the truth becomes visible. When you no longer need reality to fit your preferences, you can finally see reality. This is the paradox: the less you try to control, more clearly you perceive, and clarity leads naturally to right action. Once you know what is truly happening, the next step often becomes self-evident. You don't have to force decisions, they arise from understanding, not uncertainty. Clarity also requires humility, the willingness to admit you don't know. The mind often confuses certainty with clarity, but clarity doesn't mean having all the answers, it means seeing exactly where the limits of your understanding are. When you accept that you don't know everything, your mind opens to learning, and wisdom enters. Many of life's problems persist because people assume they already understand them. Clarity begins when you become a student again. Curious, observant. Ask life to show you what you need to see, and it will, in its own way and time. When clarity comes, it feels like fresh air after a storm. Suddenly, slow down, your body relaxes, and your choices become simple. You stop trying to fix everything, and start doing only what truly matters. You realize that complexity was never in the problem, it was in your perception. A clear mind moves efficiently, speaks gently, and acts decisively. Longer wastes energy on what-ifs and should-haves. It deals with what is. And as your clarity deepens, peace follows. Peace is simply the absence of confusion. In relationships, clarity is the difference between reaction and understanding. When you are unclear, interpret and project. When you are clear, you listen, observe, and empathize. Clarity removes misunderstanding because it sees through the lens of truth instead of emotion. It allows you to communicate directly and lovingly. The same applies to your relationship with yourself. Without clarity, self-talk becomes a battlefield of doubt and criticism. with clarity, becomes a conversation with honesty and compassion. You see your flaws, but you also see your efforts. You acknowledge your mistakes. You don't exaggerate them. You understand that growth is a process, not a punishment. Ultimately, clarity is light, the inner illumination that reveals the path forward. You cannot borrow it from others or demand it on command. Cultivate it through awareness, honesty, stillness, and trust. The more peaceful you become, the clearer you see. And the clearer you see, more peaceful you become. It is a beautiful, endless circle. Clarity does not come from struggle, it comes from surrender. The quiet surrender of confusion, of hurry, of pretending to know. When you release all that, understanding flows naturally, like sunlight through an open window. So, as you close this chapter, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding? What situation do I need to see with new eyes? What noise can I silence to let my wisdom speak? Then pause, listen, trust that clarity will come. Not as thunder, but as a quiet knowing in the heart. When clarity arrives, honor it, follow it, and act from it. Because a clear mind is a peaceful mind, and a peaceful mind is a powerful one. This is the gift of clarity. The power to see, to understand, move forward in peace, no longer lost in fog, but walking firmly in light. Acceptance is the quiet strength that turns resistance into peace. It is the sixth pillar of the peaceful mind formula. To accept does not mean to surrender to defeat, or to give up on change, to stop fighting what already is. Acceptance is the understanding that reality has already happened, that this moment, as it stands, cannot be undone by denial, regret, or resentment. Yet most people spend their energy trying to argue with life. This shouldn't have happened, or it's not fair, or why me? And in doing so, they multiply their suffering. The pain of life is unavoidable: loss, failure, change, disappointment. But the suffering we experience afterward is often self-created from resistance. Acceptance does not eliminate pain, but it prevents pain from turning into suffering. It says, "This is what is," and then calmly asks, "Now, how can I move forward from here?" Acceptance is not passive, it is deeply intelligent. It allows you to make peace with the unchangeable so you can focus your strength on what you can change. It shifts your energy from fighting the past to shaping the future. When you resist reality, your mind becomes trapped in endless conflict. You replay scenarios, question your worth, and imagine alternate outcomes. You may think that by resisting, you are staying strong, but resistance only keeps you stuck. It is like trying to swim against a river. All your energy goes into struggle, never move forward. Acceptance, on the other hand, turns your body with the current. You start to flow with life rather than against it. The river is still strong, but now you move with its rhythm. The difference between resistance and acceptance is not the situation itself. It is your relationship to it. Two people can experience the same hardship, but one resists and breaks, while the other accepts and grows. The difference lies in perception, not circumstance. Acceptance transforms hardship into a teacher. Every event, pleasant or painful, becomes an opportunity for wisdom. Stop saying, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Your peace begins to return. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness, but in truth, it requires immense strength. It takes courage to look at pain without denial. It takes humility to accept that life will not always obey your plans. It takes maturity to say, "I may not understand this now, but I trust that life has meaning beyond my current view." This surrender is not giving up. It is giving in to the wisdom of reality. Life has its own intelligence. Sometimes it removes what no longer serves you, even when you can't yet see it. Acceptance is trusting that what leaves your life is clearing space for what belongs. When you accept this, peace becomes your natural state. You no longer fight against the rhythm of existence. The mind's greatest trap is the desire to control everything. People, outcomes, timing. Control is an illusion. You can influence life, yes, but you cannot dominate it. The weather changes, people change, bodies age, plans fall apart. And yet, the mind clings to its imagined control. Acceptance is the realization that control was never the source of safety. Understanding and adaptability were. When you accept that uncertainty is part of life, you no longer fear it. You learn to dance with it. Breath becomes an act of trust. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but you know you can handle it when it comes. That is true peace, not the absence of change, but the confidence that you can remain steady within it. Acceptance also transforms relationships. Many conflicts arise because people try to change each other, to make others fit their expectations, their timing, their ways. But the truth is, you cannot truly love someone while wishing they were different. Love without acceptance is possession. Acceptance does not mean tolerating harm or ignoring boundaries. It means seeing others as they are and making conscious choices from that truth. You stop demanding that people meet your emotional needs and start understanding them for who they are. This releases tension and opens the door to genuine connection. The same applies to self-acceptance. Perhaps the hardest of all, people carry silent wars inside themselves, fighting their past mistakes, their perceived flaws, their human imperfection. They say, "When I become better, I'll finally love myself," not realizing that love itself is what makes transformation possible. Self-acceptance is not self-indulgence, it is self-honesty. It is looking at yourself, wounds and all, and saying, "This is me right now, still growing, still learning, still worthy." Acceptance also requires presence. You cannot accept reality while living in your mind's versions of it. The what ifs and if onlys. The present moment is where acceptance lives. This is why practices like mindfulness and meditation help. They bring you back to now, the only place peace can exist. When you focus fully on the present, your resistance loses its power, because resistance feeds on the past and the future. Acceptance whispers, "You are safe in this moment." From that stillness, even chaos feels manageable. You realize that, while you cannot always control outer events, you can always choose your inner response. That choice is your true power. The more you practice acceptance, the more resilient you become. Challenges no longer shake you, as they once did, because you no longer interpret them as personal failures. You see them as part of the human experience. You start to live from a place of calm adaptability. This adaptability is not apathy. It is strength in motion. You become like a tree in the wind, flexible, bending when life pushes, but never breaking. You understand that storms pass, that pain softens, that endings often become beginnings. Acceptance gives you patience. The patience to wait, the faith to trust, and the clarity to act wisely when the moment is right. Acceptance also deepens gratitude. When you stop fighting life, you start seeing its quiet gifts. The lessons hidden in hardship, the beauty that still exists amid loss, the unexpected blessings that come after disappointment. Gratitude and acceptance are siblings. One cannot exist without the other. When you accept what is, you begin to notice what remains. The sunlight through the window, the breath in your lungs, the strength that carried you this far. Life may not be perfect, but it is still precious. Acceptance opens your eyes to that truth. Ultimately, acceptance is not about resignation but transformation. It changes how you experience reality, turning even pain into purpose. Difficulty becomes a chance to evolve, to strengthen your peace, to deepen your wisdom. The moment you stop resisting, life starts assisting. The same energy you once wasted on denial becomes fuel for healing and growth. Acceptance liberates you from the false belief that you must control everything to be happy. It shows you that happiness is not found in controlling life, but in aligning with it. When you accept life as it is, you regain the power to respond with grace. So as we close this chapter on what you are resisting right now, is it a person, a situation, a memory, or perhaps yourself? Ask gently, what if I stopped fighting this? What if I allowed it to be as it is? Then breathe. Feel the tension release from your chest. This is not giving up. This is waking up. You are no longer trapped in the struggle to make life something other than it is. You are free to live, to learn, and to love from a place of peace. Acceptance is not the end of growth, it is the beginning of wisdom. It is the calm in the storm, the stillness that says, even here, I am okay. Through acceptance, you discover that peace is not something you chase. It is something you uncover, right beneath the resistance you finally released. Gratitude is the golden bridge between peace and abundance, stands as the seventh pillar of the peaceful mind formula. Gratitude is not merely saying, thank you for what you have. It is the profound awareness that life itself, even in its simplest form, is a gift. It is the shift from scarcity to sufficiency, complaint to contentment, from tension to trust. Gratitude transforms perception, and perception transforms reality. When you begin to see life through the lens of appreciation, you discover that peace was never missing, only unnoticed. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes you within them. It reawakens the heart to the blessings that were always present, quietly waiting beneath the noise of dissatisfaction. Most people spend their lives chasing what they don't have. Peace will arrive once they acquire more. More success, more love, more possessions. But gratitude reverses that chase, teaches that peace comes first and abundance follows. A grateful mind is not blind to problems, it refuses to let problems overshadow the beauty that still exists. Gratitude is the art of finding light even in darkness, ability to whisper, thank you, even when the heart aches. True gratitude begins with awareness. It is not about grand moments or perfect days. It is about noticing the ordinary miracles that fill each moment. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the taste of water when you're thirsty, the sound of laughter, the breath that rises and falls without command. These simple things, once seen clearly, become sacred. The ungrateful mind overlooks them because it is always rushing toward the next thing, trapped in the illusion that joy exists somewhere else. The grateful mind slows down, it observes, it savors. Gratitude makes you present because appreciation cannot exist in the past or the future. It lives only in the now. When you practice gratitude, practicing presence. And presence, as you've already learned, is peace. Gratitude also expands awareness. When you start listing what you're thankful for, your mind begins to search for more reasons to be thankful. The more you appreciate, the more you notice to appreciate. This is not magic, it is focus. The human mind amplifies whatever it repeatedly looks for. When you look for lack, you see lack. When you look for blessings, you see blessings. Gratitude rewires your mental lens to notice the good, which was always there, behind complaint, Gratitude is also a powerful antidote to fear and anxiety. Fear thrives on what might go wrong. Gratitude anchors you in what is already right. When you are grateful, your nervous system relaxes, your thoughts slow, and your heart opens. Impossible to be truly grateful and fearful at the same time. One dissolves the other. Gratitude is the emotional opposite of worry, because it shifts your attention from what's missing to what's present. When life feels uncertain, gratitude reminds you of all the times you've made it through before. It builds faith. You begin to trust that just as you were provided for in the past, you will be cared for in the future. Gratitude doesn't guarantee that nothing will ever go wrong. It assures you that even when it does, we'll still find meaning and strength within it. That is the secret resilience of a grateful heart. It cannot be broken, only deepened. Gratitude also softens relationships. So much pain in human connection comes from focusing on what others aren't giving rather than what they are. When you start appreciating people for their presence, efforts, and qualities, instead of judging them for their shortcomings, everything changes. Gratitude makes love visible. It transforms criticism into compassion and entitlement into humility. Imagine saying, "Thank you," more often, not just for favors or gifts, but for someone's patience, their kindness, their existence. Gratitude spoken sincerely can heal wounds that apologies alone cannot. It tells the other person, "I see you. You matter." And when both people in a relationship practice gratitude, it becomes a cycle of giving and receiving joy instead of complaint and blame. Gratitude disarms the ego, reminding us that connection is more valuable than being right. Self-gratitude is another essential but often neglected form of this practice. Most people find it easy to thank others but hard to thank themselves. Inner peace depends on appreciating your own efforts, your courage, and your growth. You've survived things you once thought would break you. You've learned lessons that made you wiser. You've continued to show up even when life was heavy. That deserves acknowledgement. Gratitude does not mean arrogance, it means self-recognition. It shifts your inner dialogue from criticism to compassion. Instead of saying, "I'm not enough," gratitude says, "I've come a long way." This mindset is not self-centered. It is self-healing. You begin to work from encouragement rather than pressure, from love rather than fear. And when you are grateful for yourself, you naturally become more grateful for others, because you start seeing life as a partnership rather than a competition. Gratitude also deepens spiritual connection. Whether you define that connection as faith, energy, or simple reverence for existence, gratitude opens the door to it. To be grateful is to acknowledge that life is larger than your personal story, that you are part of something vast, intelligent, and sacred. Gratitude dissolves the illusion of isolation. You begin to feel supported by life itself. Every breath becomes communion. Sunrise a reminder that you are still being given another chance. Even when challenges arise, gratitude helps you see them as part of your spiritual curriculum, not punishment but preparation. Gratitude says, "I may not like this now, but I trust it is shaping me for something greater." That trust is the foundation of peace. Practicing gratitude doesn't require special rituals, consistency. You can start by keeping a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things each day you appreciate, no matter how small. Over time, your awareness expands beyond the obvious blessings to subtle ones, lessons learned, mistakes forgiven, moments of laughter amid stress. Also express gratitude aloud, to people, to yourself, or silently to life. The key is sincerity. Forced gratitude is hollow, authentic gratitude glows. Some days, gratitude will come easily. Other days you will have to search for it in the cracks of pain. But even then, it exists. Grief holds gratitude. Gratitude for the love that made the loss possible. Failure hides gratitude. Gratitude for the wisdom earned through experience. Life always contains both pain and beauty. Gratitude chooses to focus on the beauty without denying the pain. The science of gratitude supports what ancient wisdom has always known. A grateful mind is a peaceful, resilient, and joyful one. Studies show that consistent gratitude lowers stress, improves sleep, strengthens relationships, and enhances well-being. But beyond science, gratitude is simply the natural expression of awareness. When you truly see life, not through the fog of complaint, but through the clarity of presence, gratitude arises spontaneously. You don't have to force it. You become grateful not because everything is perfect, but because you finally see the perfection within imperfection. As we close this chapter, pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Feel the air enter your lungs. That too is a gift. Look around you, whatever surrounds you right now. Somewhere in this moment, there is something to appreciate. It might be small, quiet, easily missed, but it's there. Gratitude begins with that awareness. So whisper, "Thank you." Not out of obligation, but out of recognition. Breath, every sunrise, every lesson, every heartbeat is a reminder that life continues to give. The more you notice, the more peaceful you become, because peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of appreciation. Gratitude doesn't just make you happier, it makes you awake. When you live awake, you stop chasing joy and start living it. Gratitude, in the end, is not an act. It is a way of seeing, a way of being, perhaps the simplest path to a truly peaceful mind. Forgiveness is the silent liberation of the soul, the gentle unbinding of the heart from the chains of resentment, and it forms the eighth pillar of the peaceful mind formula. Forgiveness is not about condoning what was done, nor about erasing memory. It is about releasing yourself from the burden of carrying pain that no longer serves you. It is the conscious decision to stop letting the past control your present peace. Many believe forgiveness is a gift to the offender, but in truth is a gift to oneself. A reclaiming of energy, a cleansing of inner space, a return to freedom. When you refuse to forgive, you keep the wound alive, you feed it with anger, replay it with memory, and anchor it with bitterness. The event may have ended long ago, but within you, it continues. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it changes your relationship with it, and that change can heal everything. Forgiveness is not weakness, wisdom. It recognizes that holding on to resentment punishes you far more than the person who hurt you. When you forgive, you are not saying, "What you did was okay." You are saying, "I am no longer willing to carry this pain." That is strength. The kind of strength that leads to peace. The process of forgiveness begins with understanding. People act from their own pain, ignorance, and unconsciousness. When someone hurts you, they are often acting out of fear, insecurity, or unresolved wounds. This does not excuse their behavior, but it explains it. To forgive is to see beyond the surface of the act and recognize the suffering behind it. You begin to understand that hurt people hurt people. Every harsh word, betrayal, or rejection comes from someone disconnected from their own peace. When you realize this, anger starts to soften into compassion. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Compassion is not agreement, it is awareness. It allows you to look at the one who caused harm and think, "I see your pain. I will not let it become mine." That simple understanding transforms resentment into release. Forgiveness also requires honesty, the courage to face your emotions fully. Many try to forgive by suppressing pain, tending to be over it, while the wound festers silently inside. But true forgiveness cannot exist without acknowledgement. You must allow yourself to feel what was done, to name the hurt, to grieve what was lost. Suppression is not forgiveness, it is avoidance. The wound heals only when it is exposed to light, the light of awareness, the light of honesty, the light of compassion. Allow yourself to feel the anger, sadness, the disappointment, and then, slowly, let them move through you. Emotions are energy. When you resist them, they stagnate, but when you allow them, they pass. Once the emotion flows, forgiveness becomes possible, because the weight begins to lift. Forgiveness is also deeply tied to self-forgiveness. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is not someone else, but yourself. For the mistakes you made, for the chances you missed, for the pain you caused others or yourself. We often hold ourselves hostage with guilt, believing we must continually suffer as penance for the past. But guilt, left unchecked, becomes self-punishment, and self-punishment cannot create peace. Giving yourself is not denial of responsibility, it is acceptance of humanity. It is saying, did the best I could with the awareness I had at the time. When you know better, you do better. Your give yourself is to stop identifying with your past actions and start identifying with the awareness that has grown from them. You are not your mistakes, you are the learning that came from them. Holding guilt forever is like refusing to step out of a burning house because you feel you deserve the fire. Forgiveness is the door. Many fear that forgiveness means forgetting or allowing continued harm, but that is not the case. Forgiveness is an inner act, does not require reconciliation. You can forgive and still choose to walk away, set boundaries, or protect yourself. Boundaries are not signs of bitterness. They are signs of wisdom. You can love from a distance, wish well without returning, and find peace without reopening old wounds. Forgiveness does not mean you invite toxicity back into your life. It means you no longer let it live rent-free in your mind. The past may have shaped you, but it no longer owns you. When you forgive, reclaim your power. The power to define your emotions, your peace, and your path forward. Forgiveness also reveals the illusion of control. When someone wrongs you, your mind wants to make sense of it. To rewrite the past, to force an apology, to demand justice. But no amount of mental replay can change what has happened. The past is fixed, but your perspective is not. Forgiveness is the act of releasing the illusion that the past can be undone. It is the moment you stop trying to control what's already over and start living in what's still possible. It is the bridge from pain to peace, from story to freedom. When you forgive, you reclaim the present moment, the only place peace exists. The spiritual heart of forgiveness lies in surrender. It is trusting that life, in its mysterious way, balances all things. Every hurt carries a hidden lesson, every betrayal a deeper awakening. Forgiveness opens you to that wisdom. It says, I release this not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. It allows life to handle its own justice while you tend to your healing. When you let go, you create space for new experiences, new joys, new peace to enter. Holding resentment is like clenching your fist. Forgiveness is opening your hand. You cannot receive what life offers if you are still holding what it took. Practicing forgiveness is a gradual process, not a single decision. Some wounds heal in days, others take years. Be patient with your heart. Each time you revisit the pain and choose to release a little more, you are healing. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, it is a practice, a commitment to your own peace. You may wake up one day feeling free, another day find the old hurt return. That's okay. Healing is not linear. Each moment of softness, each breath of letting go matters. Eventually, forgiveness becomes your natural state, not because the world is kind, but because your heart is free. Forgiveness also expands your understanding of love. To forgive is to love, not romantically or sentimentally, but universally. It is recognizing the shared imperfection of all beings. Everyone is stumbling through life, learning through mistakes, just as you are. This awareness humbles you and softens your judgments. You begin to see that life is not a battle of villains and victims, but a tapestry of souls trying, failing, and learning to love again. Forgiveness is love in motion, love strong enough to rise above pain, love mature enough to release rather than retaliate. As we close this chapter, reflect on whom you still carry in your heart, the person, event, or memory that still tugs at your peace. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to finally let this go? Imagine the weight lifting, the tightness loosening, the breath deepening. Have to justify their actions or erase the memory. Just release the hold it has on you. Say quietly, I forgive you. I release you. Then, turn that same forgiveness inward. I forgive myself. I release myself. I am free. These words, when felt deeply, can transform everything. Forgiveness is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of your peace. It is the return to yourself lighter, clearer, ready to live without the shadows of yesterday. And that is the power of forgiveness. It does not rewrite the past, but it allows you to rewrite your future. With a heart unburdened, a mind unshackled, and a soul finally at rest, gratitude is the golden bridge between chaos and calm, the silent key that unlocks the fullness of life, and, in the 9th step of us, the peaceful mind formula, becomes the transforming light that changes not just what we see, but how we see it. Gratitude is more than saying thank you. It is a way of being, a lens through which the world becomes brighter, softer, and more meaningful. It is the conscious practice of shifting your focus from what is missing to what is already here, from complaint to contentment, from lack to abundance. When you live in gratitude, you discover that peace is not something to be earned or chased. It is something to be remembered, because it has always been within you. Gratitude is the mind's quiet revolution. It turns ordinary days into blessings, challenges into lessons, endings into beginnings. It teaches you that even in the darkest times, there is light somewhere waiting to be noticed. Gratitude is not blindness to pain or denial of struggle. It is the gentle whisper that says, even this has something to teach me. In the restless modern world, the mind is trained to see what's wrong. It hunts for problems, collects complaints, and measures lack. This is how the mind tries to protect itself, but in doing so, it keeps us in a state of dissatisfaction. Gratitude rewires this mental pattern. When you deliberately pause and notice what is right, even if it's small, your brain begins to shift. The chemistry of gratitude is powerful. It lowers stress hormones, increases feelings of happiness, and enhances mental clarity. Gratitude literally changes the structure of the mind. But beyond science, gratitude is a spiritual act, is humility in motion, the acknowledgement that life, despite its imperfections, has given you more than you often realize. Every breath, every sunrise, heartbeat is a quiet miracle, unnoticed until we stop to feel it. Gratitude brings us back to this awareness. It slows the pace of thought, softens the edge of desire, and opens the heart to presence. To live with gratitude is to live awake, It means paying attention to the subtle gifts life offers. The smile of a stranger, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter that heals, that nourishes, the moments that pass too quickly but leave a mark. Gratitude does not demand grand events, it blooms in simplicity. It asks you to find beauty in the ordinary and meaning in the mundane. When you learn to see small blessings, your world expands. Cup of tea becomes sacred. The sound of rain becomes music. Even silence becomes full. Gratitude transforms scarcity into sufficiency, because the act of appreciating multiplies what you have. What you focus on grows, and gratitude trains the mind to focus on abundance. Gratitude is not always easy. It is simple in peaceful times but profound in painful ones. When life hurts, gratitude can feel distant, even impossible, yet it is precisely in those moments that it matters most. Gratitude in suffering does not mean pretending everything is fine, means acknowledging pain while still recognizing the good that remains. It is the courage to say, even though I am hurting, I am still alive. Even though this is hard, there is still something to be thankful for. When you can find even one thing to be grateful for in your darkest hour, you have found the seed of peace. That seed may be small, but if you water it with attention, it grows, and with it grows your strength. Then gratitude in suffering is the purest form of faith. The trust that every challenge carries purpose, that even storms water the roots of your becoming. Gratitude also reshapes relationships. When you practice appreciation toward others, not flattery, genuine acknowledgement, you invite connection and warmth. A simple thank you, spoken sincerely, can heal wounds and dissolve tension. Gratitude opens the heart to empathy. It helps you see others not for what they lack, but for what they bring. In love, in friendship, in family, gratitude creates harmony. When you focus on what you cherish in another instead of what annoys or disappoints, your energy changes, and so does theirs. You begin to communicate from understanding, not judgment. Relationships thrive when gratitude is spoken often, silently or aloud. It reminds both you and others that goodness exists even in imperfection. There is also a deeper layer of gratitude. Gratitude toward life itself. This is not conditional gratitude based on getting what you want, but unconditional gratitude, rooted in awareness, is the realization that existence itself is a gift. You did not earn this breath, this sky, this moment, yet here it is. When you see life through that lens, even ordinary existence feels divine. Begin to thank not only for the pleasant things, but for everything. For the lessons hidden in loss, the wisdom born from mistakes, the patience shaped by waiting. Life stops being an obstacle course and becomes a sacred classroom. Gratitude transforms fate into teacher. Practicing gratitude can be as simple as keeping a daily reflection. Not a list of possessions or achievements, but a list of moments that touched your awareness. You might write, I am grateful for the sound of my child's laughter. Or, I am grateful that I had the strength to get through today. Over time, practice rewires your focus. The mind that once searched for problems begins to search for blessings. And what you search for, you find. The outer world mirrors your inner focus, and gratitude tunes that focus to peace. Gratitude also harmonizes beautifully with humility. When you are grateful, arrogance fades, because you realize how interdependent life truly is. You see that everything you have, your health, your opportunities, your knowledge, has come through countless unseen hands, through nature, through time, through others' love and effort. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you that you are part of something vast, and that awareness brings serenity. In moments of chaos, when the mind spirals into fear or anger, Gratitude can act like an anchor. Simply pause and name 3 things you are grateful for right now, no matter how small. Perhaps the breath you just took, the roof above you, or even the fact that you have the ability to think and reflect. These small acknowledgements can interrupt the storm of negativity and return you to the present moment. Gratitude does not remove pain, prevents pain from consuming you. It is light entering through the cracks. True gratitude is silent and deep. It is not about words, but about presence. It is the way you look at life when you have stopped taking it for granted, is the quiet smile that comes when you realize that even imperfection is beautiful because it is real. Gratitude turns every ordinary act into a prayer, breath into a thank you, every step into a blessing. Teaches you that you don't need to chase more to be happy. You need only to notice what is already here. And so, as we close this chapter, gratitude become your daily practice, not as a duty, but as a joy. Let it begin the moment you wake, before your mind fills with plans and worries. By simply saying, "Thank you for this new day." Let it end before sleep, by remembering one good thing that happened, even if it was just a single smile. Over time, these moments build a new consciousness, one that is naturally peaceful, deeply aware, and quietly fulfilled. Gratitude doesn't change what you have, it changes how you live. It reminds you that you already have enough, that you already are enough, and that peace has been within you all along, waiting to be noticed through the simple, sacred act of saying, "Thank you." Patience is the quiet strength of the peaceful mind, visible power that allows growth to unfold in its own time, and in Ayres the peaceful mind formula stands as the 10th and perhaps most underestimated element of peace. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust. It is the calm knowing that everything happens when it is meant to, not when the ego demands it. In a world that moves faster every day, where instant results are idolized and waiting feels like failure, patience becomes a rare form of wisdom. A reminder that nature does not rush. Yet everything is accomplished. Look at a tree, it doesn't strain to grow its branches or force its fruit to ripen overnight. It simply stands rooted, nourished by the present, allowing time to do its work. The same truth applies to your life. The mind that is impatient lives in tension, constantly arguing with time, always saying, "It should have happened by now." But the heart that practices patience lives in peace, trusting that delay is not denial, and that sometimes the space between desire and fulfillment is where the soul matures. Patience teaches us to let go of control, not in surrender to laziness, but in surrender to flow. You can plant seeds, water them, nurture them, you cannot force them to sprout. The same is true for relationships, dreams, healing, and self-discovery. You can do your part, cannot dictate the pace of outcomes. Impatience often comes from fear. The fear that things won't work out unless we push, rush, or control. But when you learn to trust the process, patience naturally arises. Trust and patience are twins of peace. When you trust that life is unfolding for your highest good, you no longer resist its rhythm. You begin to see delays not as obstacles, but as divine timing. What is meant for you cannot miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. This understanding transforms frustration into faith. Patience is also deeply connected to emotional maturity. The impatient mind reacts quickly, needing immediate relief or gratification, while the patient mind responds with awareness, allowing space between stimulus and reaction. When you are patient, you stop feeding impulsive energy. You learn to breathe before speaking, to pause before judging, to think before acting. Small gap. the space created by patience, is where wisdom enters. It allows you to choose peace over chaos, understanding over anger, clarity over confusion. Patience is emotional self-control at its most refined. It is the ability to remain centered in the midst of uncertainty. Patience with yourself is the most compassionate kind. Many people can wait for others, but are cruelly impatient with their own progress. They want to heal faster, grow faster, succeed faster, and become enlightened instantly. But inner growth cannot be forced. The mind and heart unfold at their own rhythm, and comparison only disrupts that natural pace. You must learn to honor your own timing. You are not late, are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be for the lesson you are meant to learn right now. Self-patience is self-love in action. It says, I trust my journey. I am willing to give myself the time to become. Every flower blooms at a different time. Each is beautiful in its own season. You two are a unique unfolding of time and soul. Patience with others is the mark of empathy. Every person you meet is fighting their own battle, carrying their own unseen burdens. Impatience toward others often comes from the illusion that they should think, feel, or act as you do. But life has shaped everyone differently, and understanding that brings gentleness. When you are patient with others, you stop demanding perfection and start offering grace. This creates harmony in relationships because patience communicates respect. The respect for another's pace, choices, and humanity. In anger, patience is restraint. In love, patience is depth. It allows connection to grow authentically, without force or manipulation. Patience also reveals itself in the pursuit of goals. Every meaningful dream requires time. Time to evolve, to mature, to align. Modern mind wants shortcuts, but shortcuts rarely lead to mastery. Greatness in any field is built through patient persistence. The artist sketching again and again, the musician repeating scales, the writer rewriting pages, the entrepreneur learning from failure. Patience turns effort into excellence. Without it, frustration leads to quitting, but with it, every setback becomes part of the story. The patient person sees challenges not as deterrents but as shaping forces. Each delay strengthens discipline. Each detour deepens wisdom. The road to any worthy destination is long, but patience turns the journey itself into joy. Patience also has a spiritual dimension, surrender to the higher rhythm of existence. Life has its seasons, of growth, of stillness, of letting go, and each has purpose. When you resist a season, you suffer. When you accept it, you flow. Patience is the art of aligning your inner rhythm with life's rhythm. It teaches you that stillness is not stagnation, it is gestation. What appears dormant is often quietly preparing to bloom. Winter carries the promise of spring. In this way, patience becomes a form of faith. A deep trust that beneath the silence, life is moving, arranging and preparing exactly what you need. The practice of patience also heals anxiety. Anxiety is born from the mind's addiction to the future. Its constant need to know, to predict, to secure. But patience brings you back to the present, reminding you that now is enough. When you stop rushing, the present moment reveals its quiet richness. You realize that peace was never waiting at the finish line, it was hidden in the pauses you were too busy to take. Every moment of patience becomes an act of mindfulness, an anchor in the sea of uncertainty. Patience, like all virtues, must be cultivated, begins with awareness. Noticing your reactions when things don't move as quickly as you'd like. Do you tense up, complain, force outcomes? That awareness allows choice. You can breathe, step back, and remind yourself everything happens in its own time. Small practices, like waiting in line without irritation, breathing slowly in traffic, accepting an unexpected delay, become training grounds for inner peace. Each time you choose patience, you are strengthening your inner stillness. Patience is not about waiting passively for life to fix itself. It is about acting wisely without forcing outcomes. It is about doing your best and releasing the rest. It is about planting the seed, watering it with effort, and trusting nature to handle the growth. Patience says, I must make this happen now. Patience says, I trust that what is meant for me will come when I am ready. The two energies create completely different lives, one of tension, the other of trust. Ultimately, patience is peace in practice. It is the steady heartbeat beneath the noise of the world. It reminds you that nothing worthwhile grows overnight. Not love, not mastery, not wisdom, not peace. Everything meaningful in life requires time, and the willingness to wait with faith is the highest expression of strength. As this chapter closes, remember this truth: impatience exhausts, patience renews. Impatience demands that life move faster, patience moves you deeper. One lives in frustration, the other in flow. The more you practice patience, the more you will find that life has never been against you. It was only waiting for you to slow down enough to meet it where it is. Patience is the pause that turns chaos into clarity, effort into ease, and waiting into wisdom. Is the stillness that allows the universe to work through you, in perfect timing, in perfect peace. Acceptance is the quiet doorway to freedom, the sacred art of meeting life as it is rather than as we wish it to be. And in Tech, the peaceful mind formula, it stands as the 11th chapter because it is both the foundation and the culmination of peace. Acceptance is not resignation or defeat. It is the deep, calm acknowledgement of reality, a willingness to see things clearly without resistance, without denial, without the exhausting struggle of wishing them to be different. When you truly understand acceptance, you realize that it is not the end of effort, the beginning of intelligent action. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Acceptance gives you clarity. It removes the fog of emotional reactivity and allows you to act from wisdom instead of frustration. So much of human suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them. From our insistence that life must follow our plans, that people must behave according to our expectations, that outcomes must obey our timelines. But life, in its infinite mystery, moves with its own rhythm. When we fight that rhythm, we create inner conflict. When we accept it, we find peace, even amidst chaos. Acceptance begins with the recognition of what is looking at your life, your circumstances, your emotions, your past, your limitations, and saying, "This is my reality right now." It sounds simple, yet it is one of the hardest things to do, because the ego thrives on control. The ego wants to rewrite the past, predict the future, and manipulate the present. It cannot tolerate uncertainty or imperfection. Acceptance dismantles the ego's illusions. It says, "I may not like this, but I will face it honestly." This simple act of acknowledgement ends the internal war. The moment you stop fighting reality, a profound calm arises, not because everything is perfect, but because you have stopped demanding that it be. Acceptance does not mean you approve of what happened or that you stop striving to improve. It means you stop wasting energy denying what already is. When you accept, your energy shifts from resistance to response. You stop pushing against life and start flowing with it. The power of acceptance can be seen in every area of life. In relationships, acceptance means recognizing that others are who they are, not who you want them to be. It doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment, means seeing people clearly and making choices based on truth, not illusion. So much suffering in love arises from the fantasy that we can change others. Real love begins when you accept someone as they are, without the demand that they fit your image. In work or ambition, acceptance means understanding that progress takes time, and setbacks are part of the process. Instead of being paralyzed by disappointment, you accept the lesson each challenge offers. In grief, acceptance is the stage that finally brings healing. It doesn't erase loss, but it integrates it into your story, allowing you to live again without the constant sting of resistance. Acceptance also applies deeply to yourself. Self-acceptance is one of the highest forms of peace. It means embracing your flaws, your past, your imperfections, and your humanity. It means saying, "I am enough as I am, even as I grow." Without self-acceptance, all other forms of peace crumble. You can chase success, love, and validation endlessly, but if you cannot accept yourself, you will remain restless. Acceptance does not mean you stop improving, means your improvement no longer comes from self-hate, but from self-understanding. It is the difference between saying, "I must change because I'm broken," and saying, "I will grow because I deserve peace." When you accept yourself, no longer live in constant comparison. You stop fighting to be someone else, and begin living fully as yourself. Acceptance also transforms your relationship with the past. The past cannot be changed, no matter how much you replay it. Regret is resistance to what cannot be undone. Acceptance turns regret into wisdom. It says, "Yes, that happened. I learned. I release it." Without acceptance, you are trapped in mental time travel, constantly revisiting old moments, wishing you had said or done something different. This robs you of the present. When you accept the past, you reclaim your power from it. You begin to live again. Similarly, acceptance of uncertainty frees you from anxiety. The future is unknowable, yet the mind obsesses over it, trying to control outcomes. Acceptance says, "I do not know what will happen, but I trust that I can handle whatever comes." That trust dissolves fear, allows you to rest in the present, where life is actually happening. Many misunderstand acceptance as passivity, as if accepting means doing nothing. Real acceptance is the opposite of apathy. It is clear-eyed awareness that allows meaningful action. When you accept a situation fully, you can see what is within your control and what is not. Resistance blurs that vision, acceptance clarifies it. For example, if you are facing a challenge at work, resistance might make you angry or anxious, while acceptance allows you to focus on solutions. You are dealing with an illness. Resistance fills you with fear and self-pity, while acceptance allows you to take care of yourself wisely. Acceptance empowers because it aligns you with truth, and truth is always the ground of power. Acceptance is also an act of surrender, not to weakness, but to wisdom. It is surrendering the illusion that life must obey your will. It is recognizing that the universe operates with intelligence beyond your understanding. Sometimes what you perceive as a setback is actually redirection. Sometimes what you call loss is making space for something greater. Acceptance opens you to that mystery. It says, "Even if I don't understand this now, I trust that it has purpose." That trust doesn't erase pain, but it gives it meaning. It turns suffering into transformation. The most peaceful souls are not those who have avoided hardship, but those who have accepted it as part of their awakening. To cultivate acceptance, practice presence. Notice when you resist. When you say, "This shouldn't be happening." Pause, breathe, and remind yourself, "But it is happening." This simple acknowledgement grounds you in reality. Then ask, What can I do from here? Acceptance is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of intelligent effort. It shifts you from reacting emotionally to responding consciously, asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" That shift alone can transform your life. Acceptance also leads to deep compassion. When you accept yourself and life, you stop judging others harshly. You understand that everyone is doing their best with their current awareness. You see that life humbles us all, that pain softens us all, and that acceptance connects us through shared humanity. It is impossible to have a peaceful mind without an accepting heart. Acceptance and peace are one and the same, two sides of the same understanding, that life is what it is, and within that reality, peace is always available. As this chapter closes, reflect on where in your life you are resisting. What do you keep wishing were different? What truth are you avoiding? What situation drains you because you keep fighting what already is? Into that awareness, whisper softly to yourself, "This is how it is right now, and that's okay." In that simple sentence lies liberation. You do not have to like it, you do not have to approve of it, but you can accept it. From there, peace flows naturally, like a river freed from a dam. Acceptance is not giving up, it is waking up. It is the point where the struggle ends, and life begins again, fresh, raw, real, and open. When you learn to accept, you stop chasing peace, because you realize peace has always been right here, quietly waiting beneath your resistance, ready to embrace you the moment you finally stop fighting and simply let life be. Letting go is the art of release, the sacred act of freeing yourself from the invisible weights that keep you bound to the past, and in the peaceful mind formula, it becomes the 12th step toward lasting peace. Letting go is not forgetting, and it is not indifference. It is the gentle but powerful decision to stop carrying what no longer serves your growth. Every person holds on to something: an old wound, a failed dream, a grudge, a regret, or a vision of how life was supposed to be. We clutch these memories, believing that by holding on, we are preserving meaning or protecting ourselves from pain. But the truth is, holding on only keeps the wound open. The more you grip the past, more you bleed from it. Letting go is not about losing, it is about making space. Space for new peace, new joy, and new life to flow in. It is saying, "I release what I cannot control, and I trust that life will fill the space with what is meant for me." The peace that comes from letting go is unlike any other. It is light, expansive. The peace of a soul unburdened. The process of letting go begins with recognition. You cannot release what you refuse to see. You must first become aware of what you are holding on to. The story, the expectation, the attachment that keeps your mind in constant tension. Sometimes what we hold is not even a memory, but an identity built around that memory. We say, "This is who I am. The one who was betrayed, the one who failed, the one who suffered." Letting go requires courage, because it means stepping beyond that story, means allowing yourself to exist without the armor of old pain. The mind fears this emptiness, believing that letting go means losing part of itself. What is lost is not you. It is only the suffering that has hidden your true self. What remains after release is pure awareness, light, and freedom. Attachment is the root of suffering, as every great spiritual teaching has reminded us. When we cling to outcomes, possessions, people, or even ideas, create dependency. We tell ourselves, "I can only be happy if this stays, if that happens, if they return." But life is change. Change will always take from us what we try to hold too tightly. The law of impermanence governs all things. Everything rises, flourishes, fades, transforms. The sooner we accept this, the gentler life becomes. Letting go is not an act of cold detachment, but an act of alignment with reality. It is acknowledging that nothing is truly yours to possess. Not people, not time, not even your body. Everything is borrowed. When it's time to return it, peace lies in gratitude, not resistance. When you understand this, you begin to live more fully. You appreciate each moment as a gift rather than a guarantee. Letting go also requires forgiveness of others and often of yourself. Many people cannot move forward because they keep replaying old hurts, keeping the flame of resentment alive. Each replay reignites pain, reinforcing the illusion that something in the past can still be changed. But the past is unchangeable. Only your relationship to it can transform. Let go is to stop trying to rewrite the story and instead allow it to close. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that closure. Doesn't justify what happened, it liberates you from being bound to it. Similarly, self-forgiveness is essential. You cannot let go if you are still punishing yourself for who you were. Every version of you that made mistakes did so with limited awareness. Letting go of guilt means acknowledging that growth has already occurred, that punishment no longer serves purpose, and that peace is a far greater teacher than pain. One of the hardest forms of letting go is releasing control. The mind loves control because it gives the illusion of safety. It believes that if it plans enough, predicts enough, or worries enough, secure the future. But life cannot be controlled, only cooperated with. The more you try to grip it, the more it slips through your fingers. Letting go of control is an act of faith. Not blind faith in luck or chance, but deep faith in the intelligence of life itself. It is trusting that you don't need to control every outcome for things to unfold in your favor. Often, the most miraculous turns in life come not from controlling but from surrendering. When you finally release the need to make everything happen your way, you create space for better ways to appear. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing your best, then allowing life to do the rest. Go also applies to emotions. Feelings, when resisted, become stuck energy. Anger, grief, jealousy, and sadness, these emotions are natural, but when you cling to them, they become part of your identity. Letting go means allowing emotions to pass through you without judgment or suppression, feeling fully but not feeding endlessly. Imagine your emotions as waves. They rise, peak, and fall. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. The more you remember that, the easier it becomes to let feelings move through you without drowning in them. Meditation, mindfulness, and breathwork are tools that help this process, grounding you in awareness and reminding you that nothing, not even pain, is permanent. Another aspect of letting go is releasing expectations. Expectations create suffering because they attach peace to specific outcomes. You expect people to behave a certain way, situations to unfold a certain way, and life to follow your imagined timeline. But when reality deviates, as it often does, you feel betrayed, even though it was your expectation that deceived you. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean losing hope, it means freeing hope from control. You still have goals, dreams, and visions, but you hold them lightly, knowing that life may guide you to something even better. You stop saying, "It must happen this way," and start saying, "I trust that whatever happens will serve my growth." That trust transforms anxiety into peace and disappointment into wisdom. Letting go is also about clearing internal and external space. The physical clutter you hold onto often mirrors emotional clutter. Old possessions, unread messages, lingering reminders of past chapters. These can anchor your energy in yesterday. Releasing them creates space for renewal. The same applies internally. Releasing negative thought patterns, toxic habits, and self-limiting beliefs allows your mind to breathe. Letting go of self-criticism and comparison creates a softer inner world, one that supports growth instead of suffocating it. Each release, no matter how small, returns energy to your spirit. To practice letting go, begin with awareness. Notice where your energy feels heavy. You keep returning mentally. Ask yourself, what am I still holding on to, and why? Then breathe into that awareness. Imagine yourself gently opening your hand, releasing what you have been gripping. Sometimes you may need to let go over and over again. That's okay. Letting go is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice. Each time you release, you rise a little higher in peace. Ultimately, letting go is an act of love. Love for yourself, love for life, and love for freedom. It is not about forgetting the past, but about honoring it and moving forward lighter. It is not about giving up dreams, but about trusting divine timing. It is not about losing control, but about realizing you never needed it to begin with. When you let go, you return to flow, the effortless state where life moves through you rather than against you. You begin to feel spacious, alive, and unburdened. You stop chasing and start allowing. You stop clinging and start receiving. You stop fearing loss and start trusting renewal. Every ending becomes a beginning. Every release becomes a rebirth. As this chapter closes, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what can I release today? Perhaps it's a memory, a resentment, a fear, or an expectation. Whatever it is, let it drift away like a leaf carried by the wind. Feel the lightness that follows. This is the peace that letting go brings. A peace not dependent on anything external, but born from the freedom within. When you truly let go, you realize that you have not lost anything essential. You have only shed the weight that kept you from flying. Gratitude is the silent force that transforms an ordinary life into a sacred experience, and in the Peaceful Mind Formula is the 13th pillar of peace. The gentle reminder that no matter what storms we face, there is always something within and around us to be thankful for. Gratitude is more than just saying, thank you. It is a state of consciousness that shifts your perception from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to contentment, from fear to trust. Is the realization that life is not something happening to you but through you. Every moment, even the painful ones, contains a hidden gift. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to rewire your mind, your full attention. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, your brain begins to release chemicals of peace and happiness, quieting the anxious search for more. It is a return to wholeness, an acknowledgement that you already have enough, that you are enough. Gratitude doesn't change your external circumstances immediately, but it changes your internal landscape so deeply that the outer world begins to reflect that inner shift. A world obsessed with comparison and endless striving, gratitude is rebellion. It says, I choose peace over pressure. I choose appreciation over ambition. That doesn't mean you stop desiring or growing. It means you stop chasing happiness as if it were hiding somewhere beyond the next achievement. Gratitude brings happiness home. It reminds you that joy is not found in possessions or accomplishments but in presence. The ability to fully inhabit this moment, however simple it may be. The mind often believes it will be happy when things go right, when people approve, success comes. But gratitude dissolves that illusion by showing you that peace is available now. The more grateful you are, the more abundance flows to you, not because of magic, but because gratitude sharpens your awareness of goodness. What you focus on expands. When you focus on what is good, you begin to notice even more of it. Practicing gratitude begins with noticing. Every day, countless miracles occur unnoticed. Your lungs breathe, your heart beats, your body heals, the sun rises, the rain falls, and life continues in all its quiet brilliance. Gratitude starts by pausing to see these simple gifts. It doesn't require grand gestures or rare blessings, a cup of warm tea, the laughter of a friend, a soft breeze, or even the quiet comfort of solitude. These small moments are treasures when viewed through the lens of appreciation. Gratitude turns routine into reverence. Washing dishes becomes a meditation on abundance. Walking becomes a reminder of freedom. Even breathing becomes a prayer of life. When you begin to live with such awareness, your relationship with existence transforms. Stop fighting with life and start flowing with it. Gratitude also heals pain. It may sound paradoxical, but even in suffering, there are reasons to be thankful, not for the pain itself, but for what it awakens in you. Gratitude helps you see the lessons behind the losses, the strength behind the struggle, and the compassion born from your wounds. Shift your question from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this trying to teach me?" This change in perspective turns pain into purpose and obstacles into openings. When you find gratitude in adversity, you reclaim your power from the circumstance and place it back into your consciousness. Stop being a victim and become a creator, someone who can find light in any darkness. To practice gratitude deeply, you must learn to slow down. Modern mind races past beauty because it is always searching for something else. The next task, the next goal, the next pleasure. Gratitude asks you to pause, breathe, and see. It invites you to fully inhabit your own life. The practice can be as simple as writing down 3 things you are grateful for each morning or whispering, "Thank you," before you fall asleep. True gratitude is not a list, it is a way of being. It is carried in the tone of your thoughts, the softness of your heart, the openness of your attention. It is not something you perform, it is something you feel. When you live in gratitude, relationships deepen. You begin to appreciate people for who they are rather than who you want them to be. You see their kindness, effort, presence instead of their flaws or shortcomings. Expressing gratitude toward others becomes a gift that multiplies joy. Theirs and yours. A simple acknowledgement can heal a wound, build a bridge, or restore trust. Give them gratitude dissolves resentment because it focuses on what is working rather than what is missing. It turns judgment into compassion and indifference into care. In the same way, gratitude, appreciating your own progress and resilience, builds inner peace. Too often, we notice our failures but ignore our efforts. Gratitude for yourself is the foundation of self-love, the quiet realization that you have come far and that your existence itself is a miracle. Gratitude also connects you to the flow of life. When you are grateful, you are in harmony with reality instead of resistance. You trust that life gives you what you need, even when it doesn't give you what you want. Doesn't mean you stop working toward your dreams. It means you no longer depend on outcomes for happiness. Gratitude makes you receptive. You stop chasing and start allowing. You begin to see how every delay, every detour, and even every disappointment was shaping you for something greater. Life becomes less about control and more about cooperation. You move from grasping to giving, from scarcity to sufficiency. In this space, miracles seem to happen naturally because your energy aligns with abundance. Even science supports what spiritual wisdom has always known. Gratitude changes the brain. It increases serotonin and dopamine, reducing stress and anxiety. It lowers blood pressure and improves sleep. But beyond biology, it changes energy. Grateful people radiate warmth and calm. They attract kindness because they carry kindness within. The frequency of gratitude is healing, to yourself and to others. It's contagious in the best way. When you live in gratitude, you become a quiet teacher of peace without saying a word. There is also a spiritual dimension to gratitude. It is a form of surrender, an acknowledgement that something larger than yourself is guiding your journey. When you say, "Thank you for what you have," you are also saying, "I trust for what's to come." You affirm that life is not random but purposeful, that even the unseen is working for your good. This trust gives birth to serenity. Gratitude is the bridge between human struggle and divine flow. It keeps you humble in success and hopeful in difficulty. It reminds you that everything is temporary, but the beauty of each moment is eternal when you meet it with appreciation. In the end, gratitude is both the seed and the fruit of peace. It begins small, with a single thank you whispered into the air, but grows into a tree that shades your entire existence. It doesn't mean your life becomes perfect. It means you stop needing perfection to be happy. Gratitude teaches you to dance in the rain instead of waiting for the storm to pass. It allows you to wake each morning with a sense of wonder and to rest each night with contentment. It transforms survival into celebration. Is the essence of the peaceful mind, the heart's way of saying, "I have enough. I am enough. This moment is enough." So as this chapter closes, take a breath and think of one thing. Just one. You can be grateful for right now. Perhaps it's the ability to read these words, the beating of your heart, or the quiet strength that keeps you moving forward. Let that gratitude expand until it fills your entire awareness. Let it dissolve every complaint, every worry, every sense of lack. In this state, are free, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally see how perfect this very moment already is. That is the true gift of gratitude, the power to turn every breath into a blessing and every day into a miracle. The final chapter of The Peaceful Mind Formula is about mastery, not the mastery of others or of external circumstances, but the mastery of the self. True peace is not found in a world that behaves exactly as you wish, but in a mind that remains still even when the world does not. Mastery means becoming the calm in the storm, the observer in the chaos, the light in your own darkness. It is not perfection. Perfection is impossible in a changing world. It is balance, awareness, and presence in every moment. Mastery is living as the witness rather than the victim of your own thoughts and emotions. It is knowing that the world outside you is a reflection of the world within you, and that by changing the inner landscape, you transform everything else. A peaceful mind is not a quiet mind by accident. It is a mind that has learned, through awareness, acceptance, patience, and gratitude, how to rest in its own stillness. The path through all 15 chapters has been a gradual unfolding toward this realization that the ultimate problem to solve is not outside of you, but within your perception of it. When your perception becomes clear, when your reactions soften into understanding, every challenge turns into a teacher, and every difficulty becomes a doorway to peace. Mastery begins with responsibility. You stop blaming life, people, and circumstances for your suffering. You begin to see that peace or pain are born from your own interpretations. Nothing outside of you can disturb your mind, unless you give it permission to. The moment you realize this, you reclaim your power. No longer are you a prisoner of emotion or fate, you are the conscious creator of your experience. You begin to act instead of react, to respond with awareness rather than impulse. Mastery is the ability to pause before speaking, to breathe before judging, choose compassion instead of anger. It is the space between stimulus and response that defines your freedom. As Viktor Frankl once said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Our response lies our growth and our freedom. The peaceful mind learns to live in that space. To reach mastery, you must integrate everything you have learned: awareness, acceptance, detachment, clarity, surrender, gratitude, and patience, until they are no longer separate ideas, but one continuous flow of understanding. You stop practicing peace as a technique and start being peace as a natural state. You realize that peace was never something to achieve, always your nature, simply hidden beneath layers of fear, desire, and resistance. The more you peel away these layers, the more effortlessly peace arises. Mastery, then, is not about gaining something new, but about remembering what was always there. The return to your truest self, the part of you untouched by chaos, unchanged by time, and unshaken by loss. A master of the peaceful mind does not avoid the storms of life. They experience everything: joy, pain, gain, loss, fully and consciously, without clinging or resistance. When sadness comes, they allow it. When anger rises, they watch it. When happiness arrives, they savor it without fear of its departure. This equanimity is the heart of mastery, the ability to experience life without becoming entangled in it. The world may shout, but the master listens with quiet ears. The world may rush, but the master moves with purpose, never haste. This does not mean indifference, it means depth. The master feels deeply but does not drown. They love without attachment, work without obsession, live without fear. Their peace is not fragile, it is unshakable, because it does not depend on circumstance. To live this way requires discipline. Not the rigid kind born from control, but the gentle consistency of awareness. Every day becomes an opportunity to practice presence, to return to calm, to remember who you are beyond thought. Mastery grows through small moments. The decision to breathe instead of argue, to forgive instead of resent, to rest instead of rush. These choices seem small, but they build the architecture of peace. Over time, they rewire your mind, shifting you from reaction to response, from fear to faith. You realize that mastery is not a destination at the end of struggle, it is a way of walking through struggle with grace. Will still be moments of weakness, times when anger, sadness, or doubt pull you off center. But mastery is not about never falling, it is about returning faster each time you do. You learn to recover your peace as quickly as you lose it. You become aware the instant your mind slips into old patterns, and instead of judging yourself, you simply return to awareness. Gentle return, over and over, is the heartbeat of mastery. It transforms life into a meditation. Every experience becomes an invitation to practice presence, to stay grounded in the now. The peaceful master also understands impermanence, that everything changes, and that this is not a tragedy but a gift. Because nothing lasts forever, moment becomes infinitely precious. Gratitude deepens. You stop taking anything for granted because you know it will pass. Instead of clinging to joy, you absorb it. Instead of resisting pain, you learn from it. Impermanence makes life vivid, beautiful, and real. It also makes you humble, for you understand that control is an illusion. The only true control lies in your inner state, your response, your perception. The world outside may spin, but you remain the still center. Mastery is also love, not romantic or possessive love, but unconditional love for life itself. You see the divine in everything, in the stranger, in the storm, in the silence. You no longer divide the world into good and bad, success and failure, and lose. You see everything as movement within one great whole, a dance of opposites creating balance. In this awareness, your heart opens. Compassion becomes your natural language. You no longer need to prove, compete, or defend, because you see that nothing real can be threatened. Move through life softly but powerfully, like water. Flexible, patient, unstoppable. The greatest sign of mastery is peace in the midst of uncertainty. When others panic, you stay calm. When others complain, you remain grateful. When life tests you, you trust. You no longer measure peace by how easy life is, but by how calm you remain when it is not. This calmness becomes your gift to the world. People may not understand it. They will feel it, in your presence, in your words, in your silence. A truly peaceful mind doesn't need to preach peace, it radiates it. And so, the journey ends where it began within you. The formula was never a secret code to control the world, but a guide to reclaim your inner freedom. To solve any problem, you must first quiet the mind that sees it as a problem. To find peace, you must realize that peace was never lost, only forgotten. You are not separate from life, you are life itself, expressing through form. When you understand this, fear dissolves, struggle softens, becomes your natural state. As this final chapter closes, take a moment to breathe deeply and feel the quiet space inside you. The one that has always been there beneath the noise. That space is your true self. It is the foundation of every insight, the witness of every experience, the eternal peace that no storm can touch. Carry it with you as you move through the world. Speak from it, act from it, rest in it. Let it be your anchor when the world trembles and your compass when the path grows dark. You have reached the end of the book, but the beginning of mastery. You now know that the mind can be your prison or your peace, and that you, and only you, hold the key.